And I'd like to first take just a moment to thank all of you for being here tonight. I know that many of you, like myself, have traveled a great distance to be here. And so on behalf of my brother Paul and my entire family, I'd like to express our most sincere gratitude that you are here tonight to help us celebrate. It is my honor to say a few words about my brother. And I have so much to tell you. But I've been informed that even as I speak, the chef is hard at work preparing our meals. And if I should speak too long, our food will get cold and the chef will be displeased. Now, Paul and I have both worked in the food service industry, and we both understand that it is never wise to upset the one who prepares your meals. Consequently, I have been given 5 minutes to tell you whatever it is I have to say. The first thing that I will tell you is what's known as the Romine rule of time multiplication. Now, this all sounds very complicated, but I assure you it's quite simple. You see, it works like this. Any time that is associated with a particular task in the Romine household must be multiplied by 4. For example, if my brother Paul was to ask me for 15 minutes of my time to help him fix his truck, in reality, he would be asking for 1 hour. Or if my father were to tell us that it would only take 10 minutes for us to carry our hundreds of pounds of luggage from our car to our hotel while on vacation, in reality, it would be a 40-minute walk. So, when my brother tells me I have 5 minutes to give a speech, in reality, I have 20 minutes.
Yay, Paul!
Unfortunately, even 20 minutes is not long enough to say everything that I want to say about my brother. It's not long enough for me to tell you about how he always instigated the fights when we were younger. It's not long enough to tell you about his intelligence, how he always got straight A's and always set the bar high for me to follow. It's not long enough for me to tell you about his rebelliousness, about how he salvaged our video games from the trash when our parents threw them out and set them up in the barn where we could play in secret and they would never know.
Oh, I knew.
No, it's not long enough for me to tell you any of that. It's only long enough for me to tell you one aspect of my brother's life. And I have chosen to tell you about his sense of adventure. My brother has always been adventurous, even from a young age. As a child, it was stories and tales and movies about Captain Hook and Peter Pan and Rufio. And as he grew, so did his sense of adventure. As a teenager, he dragged us across the country from east to west. He planned every trip and crammed more into one day than most families will see in their entire lives. But it wasn't until college that his true sense of adventure really took flight, quite literally actually, as he flew to Europe. My brother spent months and months, perhaps even years, traveling from country to country, all across the world. And it struck me as odd that my brother traveled so much, that he put so much time and effort into traveling. No one else in my family did. None of my friends. Why did he put so much energy into traveling? And then it struck me. Perhaps it was because he was looking for something. That would make sense. But what was he looking for? That I did not know. But a few years later, I traveled in my brother's footsteps. I went to many of the same countries that he went to. trying to discover exactly what it was he was looking for. And it was not easy, but eventually I found it. I discovered what my brother was looking for. Believe it or not, that object is here tonight. One moment. From the swamplands of Florida to the jungles of Cambodia, from the great pyramids of Egypt to the ancient cities of Greece and Rome, from the outbacks of Australia to the great mountains of New Zealand, my brother was searching for you, Becca. Or perhaps, more precisely, he was searching for a means to find you. My brother was searching for this, the long-lost compass of Captain Jack Sparrow. For those of you that don't know, this is no ordinary compass. This compass does not point to the north or the south. It does not point east or west. Instead, it points only to what your heart desires most. Now, it would seem that Paul has found Becca using perhaps some more modern means than this. But I still wanted to present this to both of you on this day for three reasons. First, that it may remind you of the journey that brought the two of you together. That it remind you of the long and difficult journey. And so that you may remember the value of what you have found. Second, when Paul heads out on an adventure, he oftentimes tends to get lost. Now, he will always tell you that it's simply us that cannot keep up with him, and that he always has to come back to find us. But whichever the case may be, as long as one of you holds this compass, you will always be able to find each other again. And the third reason, today, the journey that brought you together, the journey that led to this day ends. But just as one door closes, another opens, and so today another journey begins. And so it is my hope that this compass will guide you on that journey. And so, ladies and gentlemen, will you raise your glass with me to our bride and groom, to the adventure that is love, and to that which the heart desires most. To Paul and Becca.